Good morning. Welcome to the fourth hour. It's great to have you along, Steve. Steve already reacting to face the slay the nation on CBS. I don't really care, Margaret JD Vance. That's a big story this morning. I spent a lot of time talking about that earlier on the program. As I think JD Vance is, I love seeing the same kind of strength that we have seen in Donald Trump coming from JD Vance and the way he's reacting to the media. I think it's just absolutely incredible. There are, this morning on the program, I'm not going to share this on the screen now that I think about it. Tim had sent me an email as we were talking about, folks coming into the country, and you go into schools, you go into hospitals, you go into these places, churches, in order to find illegals and deal with them. And there was some difference of opinion about that during the program this morning. And so Tim is saying, good discussion on both sides of the issue. And he said, with that being said, I could not disagree more with some of the callers. If one has entered this country illegally, you're a criminal. You broke the law. I don't care if you've been here for 10 years and you're a nice person, or if your 16-year-old son is afraid to get a driver's license for fear of deportation. These are all things that callers said on the program this morning. He says, you're here illegally and you have avoided the law for 10 years. As far as the construction worker that called, the illegals that he works with can get a work visa. He says here in Arlington, there's a construction company that employs as many as 40 Mexicans at a time. They're here on work visas. And when when the visas expire, they go home and more are brought in to replace them legally. He said, I've not read any accounts where ICE is going into schools, churches, or hospitals and removing individuals. I have not seen anything specific where that's happening. He said, I personally am thrilled that Donald Trump is keeping his promise. Law and order is being restored. So that was an email that I received from Tim this morning after we had that conversation on the air. And it was, again, the reaction from some was, and again, I don't like to get into shouting matches with people, but there was one woman in particular, Emily, had called, and she was not letting me speak. When you call in and that happens, I just pot you down because, hey, I'm in control. So I pot you down and I say what I want to say. And when I went back up, it was she was screaming at the top of her lungs. And I thought, okay, well, this is going nowhere really fast. I appreciate that she had a different opinion. I did not want to cut her off. What I wanted to do was have a conversation with her, but she was saying things that I couldn't accept, and so I'm saying, no, not, so the idea that you're in the country for 10 years, and this is where I agree with Tim. So you're in the country illegally for 10 years. There's not a statute of limitations here that you're racing to beat. In other words, okay, you're in the country for 10 years. All right, you made it. That's it. You're good. Doesn't work that way. And you have people reacting that way. And again, as I said on the air this morning, how many times did Tom Homan say, and this was in November and December of last year, after the election, how many times did he say, we're coming? We're coming. I mean, you're telegraphing your moves. You're letting people know what's going on and alerting them and saying, do yourself a favor and get out now. You can leave the country now before we're sworn in, before we take office. You can leave the country now. I was hearing that from Tom Homan every time Tom Homan did a public interview. He was saying that every single time. So I just don't I don't know what more you could do. Um, David saying Fresno schools are counseling teachers and staff about ICE coming to take children. Overreaction, methinks. He says, yeah, it's a little bit crazy. Steve makes a great point here. Aiding and abetting illegal aliens is a federal crime, punishable by fines up to 10 years in prison, regardless if you're a priest or a teacher. And that's why I just, it's, as I was saying on the air this morning, I think Americans have gotten so used to the law not being enforced that when it is enforced, they melt down. I mean, that's what you see happening. So forget about the Democrats and those who, in just the shrill, hysterical, over the top reactions, in that how they can function that way. I have no idea. I can't imagine coming to work every day and just being absolutely incensed and outraged, and so many of them are. It's just like, wow, man. So I can't take a break from reality for that long, right? So Denise says she loved the interview with JD Vance. He's awesome. I think so too. And there are a number of things that I like about him. One of the things I really enjoy is that he holds firm. He holds firm. He's not going to allow the media to play their games. He knows they're going to, but he calls them out every time. He did it over the weekend on ABC, and I think he will continue to do that. All right, a big story this morning. Oh, wrong button. You'd think I'd do this every day. You'd think I'd learn how to. Donald Trump reinstating service members that were just discharged for not getting the COVID-19 vaccine. Excuse me. Service members will receive some back pay. So he signed the executive order now, or he will sign. He's not done it yet. But Peter Doocy is out on front of this story. And this is one of the promises that Donald Trump made, that he was going to do this. So service members, and based on what I had seen earlier this morning, there were like 8,000 service members that had refused to get the COVID-19 vaccine and got the boot. Of those 8,000, less than 50 returned. So they made a decision then to get the shot and return to the service. The remaining 8,000 just didn't come back. And so they will be reinstated based on Donald Trump's executive order. That's a big story today. I mentioned that early in the program today. Maybe that didn't give that as much attention and love as maybe I should have, because I think that's an important story. Also, Donald Trump, I did talk about this, touch on it at least this morning. Donald Trump promising no tax on tips. This was during some remarks that he made in Las Vegas. So, forgive me. There's no story here. It's just video. And I think I'm not sure the guy is out of college who's this is One America News Network. I don't know. Because I pulled up the video. I look at some of these videos. In fact, I'm going to share one with you here in a moment, a video from Straight Arrow News. But I pulled up that video of this guy, One America News Network, and I'm like, I'm guessing if he's out of college, not by much. Not by much. And I'm not being critical of young people. I love seeing young people, but I thought, yeah, this guy's not long out of college. He can't be. There is a story from the New York Post with Dr. Phil. Dr. Phil is out with the ICE agents targeting migrants in Chicago, as we're talking about ICE coming into the cities. Holman had talked in particular about Chicago. And so Dr. Phil is traveling with them, or at least he was yesterday, during their deportation raids. And among the people, you see him here, apprehended, was a convicted sex offender and internet predator from Thailand. And so Holman said, this is an example of sanctuary cities, right? This guy, we've got an illegal alien convicted of sex crimes involving children, and he's walking the streets of Chicago. And so this guy told McGraw, that he recognized Dr. Phil from TV. Well, that's not going to help you. I don't think recognizing Dr. Phil is going to prevent your deportation. So Dr. Phil asked him, had he ever been deported before? And he said no, but he had been in the system before. So are you a citizen? Well, my mom's a citizen. Yeah, are you a citizen? Turns out he's not. So he's charged with sex crimes involving children. And so Dr. Phil asked him about that. And he said, not really. And he said, not really? And Holman said, again, the downfall, the problem with a sanctuary city is that people like this are walking the street rather than having law enforcement working with federal agents. This is what we're dealing with. So, again, this took place yesterday in Chicago. And I saw a piece this morning. I think I'll share this with you also coming up here shortly. Don't want to get too much ahead of myself as I get. I love Steve's question. Do you think Oprah regrets making Dr. Phil a household name? Yes, absolutely right. Absolutely. I'm a fan of Dr. Phil's. I really am, not only for his stance that on a lot of these things. Again, I hope to have a common sense perspective on a lot of these things, and that's Dr. Phil. Dr. Phil is all about common sense. So, of course, he's reacting with what? As he's talking to these people, because that's what you and I are doing every day of the year. I mean, it's just been absolutely incredible to watch this stuff unfold. So I mentioned this story briefly on the air this morning about Target when it comes to DEI, and let's let Straight Arrow News take it from there.
Another retail giant announces it's rolling back some of its diversity, equity, and inclusion policies.
Let's all applaud.
Target announcing Friday the company will cancel DEI strategies just days after President Trump signed an executive order stating DEI initiatives
didn't want to do it. We had to.
Laws of this nation. Target joins other corporations, Walmart, Meta, McDonald's, John Deere, Molten Coors, and Tractor Supply, among others, which have all dropped their DEI goals in recent months. Others, most recently Costco Corporation, have resisted a push to end DEI
they're refusing
programs.
to do it. Costco was, and their CEO had talked about it. They're just refusing. They're going to stand fast. They will continue their diversity, equity, and inclusion programs, which is their right. It's their right. They want to continue that. Absolutely. There are a lot of Americans who are making their purchasing decisions based on that kind of stuff. For Target has had a lot of programs and done a lot of things that really is offensive to their customer base. And you can do those things if you want to. You certainly have the freedom and the ability to be able to do those things if you want to. But then your customers, it's their right to say, yeah, I'm not going to continue shopping at a lot of these places. And I think that's what you've seen. So, Costco, David is right. David is saying that, Disney is doubling down on DEI. And let me ask you then, so what effect has that had with you and Disney? How many Disney shows are you watching? How many Disney programs are you watching? I would say I am watching less than I ever have in my life. Seriously, I am watching less Disney than I ever have in my lifetime. And it's the same thing with Target. Doing my shopping via Target. I do less shopping at Target certainly than I was doing when I was married. Target was one of our, literally, we were at Target almost weekly, if not more often. Now, I'm not saying that you won't find me in Target. It's pretty rare. If you see me in Target, it's probably one of maybe 4 times a year that I go into Target. I just don't shop there. And for these people Steve, I'm a bit like you. Last Disney movie I watched, Avengers Endgame. I watched some of the Obi-Wan, the Obi-Wan series that they did, and there was one other, and Katie and I were watching it, and I just told Katie, you know what? I feel like I've had a gun to my head, like I needed to watch this. I just won't watch this stuff anymore. I'm done. I'm just done with them. Hoping, and I think this is what I was doing for a long time. You watch something hoping it's going to be good, right? You're hoping it's going to be good. And they disappoint you, and they disappoint you. And how many times do you allow them to disappoint you? And this is where a number of these, it's like, I'm done. It's over. Okay, thanks. I had a good time for a while, but no. And I see the Avengers, Captain America, new movie, Captain America in a new movie, and they're reinventing Captain America, and it's like, no interest. I'm done. Just really don't care. A lot of this stuff, I'm just not interested. If I ever see it, yeah, not too. It's not something I'm going to say, well, maybe I'll watch it when it goes, there was a time I'd say, well, when it goes to the cheap theaters, we used to say that. You ever said this? When it goes to the cheap theaters, I'll see it then. So in other words, you pay a discounted price. So a great example is like the Western Mall theaters here in Sioux Falls. I walk out at the Western Mall. I'm there easily 5 days a week, 5 or 6 days a week. Then I go and I walk, and I do my walking, and I walk by every day, and I look at the movie posters that are there, and it's like, no. Don't want to see it. Don't want to, maybe, no. And I hate that, because it wasn't all that long ago. I would want to see it, want to go. That looks good. That's intriguing. I don't know what has happened in Hollywood, but it just really is. Now, Denise is making a comment that I really appreciate. When they started putting stuff in their animated movies that I didn't think were kid appropriate, so probably a good 10 years that she stopped watching Disney. Understand. Steve made a comment about Steve still shopping at Target, and I want to be really clear. I want you to be able to shop wherever you want to shop. You shop where you feel comfortable. Absolutely. That's the way it should be. I've always said that. When it came to, Budweiser and their beer, and there was a lot of pushback, and I'm not a beer drinker. I have very few beers. When I use beer, more often than not, I boil bratwurst in it before I put them on the grill. But I don't drink beer. I'm just not a beer drinker. I've not been since I was young. So Budweiser, I'm not buying Budweiser. So, but I understood why people were boycotting them, so on. So, but I want you to shop and those are your choices. That's your money. That's the way it should be. It's just always been really kind of clear to me. And I agree with you, Denise. Yeah. The the cheap theaters and the state. I love the state because the state is showing, what are they doing? Showing older movies before all of the woke nonsense, right? Before the studio started going crazy, those are the movies that the state is showing. Now, they show some stuff now. It's not for me. But again, no problem with that. If folks want to go, that's how it should be. I want you to be able to make your own choices. But I love going to the state and seeing Jaws again, seeing Batman, in the 1989's Batman, Michael Keaton up on the big screen again. I love that movie. It's still one of my favorite movies. I love seeing that back up on the big screen again because it had been a number of years, not since I'd seen the movie, but since I had seen it on the big screen. There's a certain... This is where Katie and I disagree because, and I think I've told you this before, my wife would rather watch videos at home, period. That's it. She would rather watch videos at home, period. There was no movie that she wants to go see in the theater. Whereas I'm like, and God bless her, she allows me to drag her to the movie theater every now and again. She throws me a bone. And I'm like, hey, for instance, I wanted to go see, this happens to me with names. It's a Humphrey Bogart movie, The Maltese Falcon. I wanted to go see The Maltese Falcon in the movie theater. I love The Maltese Falcon. I've never seen it in the movie theater. Would you come? And she did. And I made a big deal about it with you at the time because I said, well, I've watched that movie I don't know how many times. I go into the movie theater and I find and I've never laughed out loud watching it at home. Never once laughed out loud. Go see it in the movie theater and something happens, I'm laughing. And it's not just me. Others in the movie theater, the other folks that are there, they're laughing. And I thought, that was never a laugh line to me. But you watch it, it's a different experience watching movies on the big screen than it is watching them at home. And I love it. It's one of my, I would have to say, as far as entertainment, because I'm not into a lot of stuff. I really am not. One of the things that I really just enjoy doing, I enjoy going out to eat. And I do that less and less because, I don't want to become grossly overweight again. So I just don't eat out as often as I used to, but I love it. Absolutely love going out to restaurants and going to movies. That has been, I've been doing that easily since I was like 12, 14 years old. We would go, if a friend and I were getting together on a Saturday, we would go to we'd go to the old Western Mall theaters, not the current ones, but the old West Mall theaters. You remember when you walked in by Tempo, those of you who are old time Sioux Falls, you walked by Tempo right there as you walked in, and there was, you could see 1 and 2, the two movie theater, lines forming down around the no lines anymore. Mostly you don't have those long lines, but oh my heavens, I love that. The anticipation of standing in that line to see that movie, whatever it might have been. It was such fun stuff. David says he's a fan of Casablanca. Yeah, the Maltese Falcon is, I think, my favorite Humphrey Bogart film. He's the tough guy's tough guy. I just absolutely love him. And David is saying audience reaction is a big part of the experience. I agree. I agree. That's part of what's fun when you go to the movie theater. Hearing the reaction from others and seeing their, whether it's hearing their laughter or it's a different experience. It's one I absolutely love. I got a couple other stories I wanted to share with you this morning. Let's go to Breitbart. See their headlines, more dirty tricks. Doctors Committee opposing Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is Bill Gates backed AstroTurf with fake names. Okay, what does that mean? This committee they're talking about. So this committee, in quotations, turns out to be a Bill Gates backed organization that affects fake signatories. So the people, the Committee to Protect Healthcare, cited by NBC News and others, it's a bunch of bogus names that are fueling that. What a shock. What an absolute shock and surprise. I can't imagine, I can't believe that NBC News, as trusted as they are, would stoop to those. I mean, please, legacy media has just become such a joke. Washington Post, here's Donald Trump. As I was sharing that Tom Homan story with you, Donald Trump wants 1,200 deportations per day, according to the Post. Forgive me, I just ordered a new razor, so now it's coming up in my ads. I ordered this yesterday. It's a single blade razor versus multi-blade razor. Supposed to be easier on my fair skin, my aging skin. Anyway, he wants to see 1,200 deportations today. The Post reported that Trump has directed them to ramp up the number of people they arrest from a few hundred to at least 12 to 1,500. The president has been disappointed with the results of the campaign so far. According to 4 people. Really, that many? We got 4 people who are on board. The media, please. Anyway, the quotas were outlined over the weekend, but Donald Trump, according to the Washington Post, I want to qualify that, according to the Washington Post, Donald Trump wants to deport at least 1,200 to 1,500 people a day. I would have to say, I don't think that would surprise me, given the fact that Donald Trump has absolutely made this a priority. Absolutely. And it's one of the reasons why he's currently the president. So let's leave it there for today. We're at the half-hour mark. Thank you so much for letting me join you this morning. If you would, please hit the like button on your way out the door. And otherwise, I'll see you again tomorrow, my friend. Please take care, and may God bless. See you again soon.